Hello. Hello and
Hello.
welcome
I didn't
to
see you there.
to-
Well,
welcome to Rolls Reviewed, Rolls Revamped miniseries. Miniseries? Probably not going to be that many. It's going to be many videos of us talking about games we like. And this week we are going to be talking about Brindlewood Bay, a fantastic little game that I'm sure many of you have heard of. I'm Lee Baldwin. I'm the second half of the Rolls Revamped or Rolls Reviewed hosts. And over here we have Remick.
yes, I'm Rem of the Realm, and I'm here.
Well, we're glad to have you.
Someday I'll learn how to do an intro.
Well, thank you guys for joining us. We do have a couple of affiliates, and we have their links in the description if you wouldn't mind checking those out. We've got Humble Bundle, which is like, really great games for a great cause, and you get to support us. So there's like no losing there. I highly recommend checking that out. You'd be surprised at the kinds of games that they have there. And you get all sorts of discounts. So, very good place to go looking around. But the game we're talking about today, as I said, is Brindlewood Bay, and we are going to actually start ranking our games a little bit more. I like numbers and organization, so I figured that we should do that to games. So
Yeah. And now we can pit them against each other and make them fight for which game is
the
the
best
top
one.
game.
Yes, that means we had to go back. We had to rate Golden Volt. Then we had to give it a rating.
Yeah.
We could do that. That's easy.
We can,
I'm pretty sure.
Beyond the Golden Vault for me is a 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
So
right. I was gonna say I don't know if we need
one,
to. That is a perfect game.
it that one is the Spider's Georg where it skews the average and we can't count it. It just,
Yeah,
So that one's a bonus.
that's true. That's true. We no bad things to say about that game.
Yeah.
So I think first that we're gonna start talking about structure, right?
Yeah.
Structure of the game itself.
Yeah. How do we want to do this? Because we can talk about it. Do we want to at the end of each sort of category give our ranking, or do we want to save all the rankings for the end?
I say at the end of each category.
Okay. And then you'll have to wait until the end of the video for like the final tally.
Yeah, the final score.
And Lee and I will each give our own ranking as antagonistic or contradictory as they may be, and we can average them out to find the middle ground.
Yes. Every game will get one ranking at the very end, but
I am excited actually to make these games fight against each other for which is the top game. So that'll be exciting.
So let's start. Let's talk about structure. Brindlewood Bay.
Just to hop right in, it makes sense. It's got kind of like the introduction, the gameplay basics, Maven moves, all that stuff right at the beginning. Then it gets into like your keeper or your game master sort of specific things. And then it jumps into sort of like the broader, overarching plot elements. And then sort of at the end, it's got your additional like little mysteries and one-shots you can run. So I think like in terms of that, the structure makes sense. It's laid out very nicely, I think. It's a pleasure to read.
Yeah, I think that the order of everything is pretty good. Of course, putting the adventures at the end, I really like that they put characters first. The only thing that I would say is that I tend to like a bit of a more like narrative lead into a game. Everything is pretty laid out matter-of-factly, and which is good. Like I caught on very quickly, and like I got what they were going for, but I didn't feel like quite as immersed as I usually like to be, like right away, like getting a mood for it. So that was just a personal opinion on that. But otherwise, it is laid out pretty well. It's just I think maybe if they had put I don't know how to describe it, like the setting description first instead of just like laying out like what the setting is. I don't know how to say it, but just maybe a bit more narrative approach to that. It would have been a little bit better for me personally. But
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. I mean, I think that I do feel a bit of that as well, where it's got like the setting is very or sorry, the structure is very logical. It makes a lot of sense. It doesn't have some of the things that I'm like very there's a couple of things in terms of TTRPG design and structure and layout that I'm a sucker for like
Hmm.
every single time, and it doesn't quite appeal to those sensibilities in me. So I
Yeah,
also have
exactly.
sort of a, a sense that maybe like it could be giving me more.
Yeah, like usually like I like a literal scene setting, like a little snippet of adventure or
Mm.
something that if you're going to be like talking about cuz that can give you like so much information without having to lay out like this is where you are, this is the
Mm.
time, this is, whatever. And so like I just feel like that would have flowed a little bit better. And considering
Mhm.
this is such a like specific niche scenario, I think that would have been helpful to have. But
Yeah, and that makes sense. And
mhm,
the basics and the concept of it are so cinematic and so geared
exactly.
towards these like television cozy murder mystery tropes. Like that, yeah,
Mhm.
I think it might have been very well served by something like that.
Yeah.
So that's a good point. Did you have anything else to add on that one, or should we talk about
I think
art?
that's good. Yeah. What are you gonna give for stars then, or what's the rating?
Oh,
One out
oh
of
my God,
five.
I'm getting ahead of myself. I think in terms of structure, like again, I don't have like big complaints. Like I think it all makes sense and it flows nicely. I'd probably do a 4 out of 5
Okay. I think I'm
because
gonna
it.
give it a 3 for structure
Ooh,
itself.
yeah, that's fair. That's
Mhm.
fair. Yeah, I mean, I just like 4 out of 5. It to me, it makes sense. It's nicely laid out. It doesn't have the like the wow factor. The
Mhm. Well, then next to talk about is art. The art
yeah,
in this
the
book.
I think the art is so cute. It's so cozy, but it still has those little like the eldritch horror and the really
Yeah.
fun and weird design elements that I think are so cute paired together. I think it's very tantalizing and very fun.
Yeah, it makes me think of like old like kids fairy tale books where they would have just like
Mm.
one, picture each, and there's always something like a little bit off-putting about those like really really old ones. Just
Yeah,
the way they're
yeah.
drawn, or like before they started taking the spookier elements out of fairy tales and stuff like that. So I really like that. It kind of like leans into that cozy but creepy narrative. I think they got just the right artist for this.
Yeah, I think so too. No, it just yeah, I literally have almost nothing to say about the art except that it's so good and so fun.
Yeah.
I I think it's such an interesting it feels like when I say it, if I like writing down the concept on paper,
Hmm.
like cozy, creepy,
Murder
eldritch
mystery.
horror, vibes. It feels like those don't go together, right? Like,
Hmm.
obviously. But the way that the artist has rendered them, I'm just looking at one picture right now where it's got a water tower, but
Yeah,
it
yeah.
looks like the top of the water tower is like an octopus, and the legs, the tendrils, are dripping down the side of the water tower. But it's got a big
But
smiley
it's
face, and it's
cute
so
one though.
cute.
He's so happy.
He's so happy. I love it.
Yeah, the
It's
art
just
is very
so charming.
good.
It definitely feels like they knew their niche exactly and they
Hmm.
just hit it out of the park. Like 10 out of 10 for art.
Yes, yes, exactly. They knew just what they were drawing for.
Yes, yeah. 5 out of 5, I guess I should
Yeah,
say.
I think so too. Yeah, 5 out of 5 stars for sure. I think it's
Yeah.
exactly right for the setting.
Next, do we want to talk about the mechanics?
Yes, I do. I do want to talk about
Yeah.
mechanics. I feel like in our game that we do, that you'll see soon,
Yeah.
is we didn't really use the mechanics that much because that's just us.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we just kind of vibed the whole time. But
Yeah. it is interesting, and, like, just as an overview, I just wanna say, right, it's a Powered by the Apocalypse style
Yeah.
game,
Hmm.
so it has that style of mechanics, and I quite like them. I feel like it's hard sometimes for me to adjust to that mindset because it is a little different from, like, your D&D or your D20 style
Yeah.
game. I feel like this book did a really good job laying out the mechanics and, like, explaining everything. Because like I have a little bit of a background with Powered by the Apocalypse, but not extensively.
Hmm.
Um, they did a great job of like laying out. I think one of the big issues with these style of games is people struggle with the consequences when you roll and it's not high enough to be a total success and it's not low enough to be a failure, but it's like a success but a partial success or a success where you make yourself
Hmm.
vulnerable. And a lot of people, myself included, struggle with like how exactly to navigate the consequences or that avenue of things.
Hmm.
And I think the book did a very good job of laying out like different ways that you could communicate that, or like different vulnerabilities or consequences you could give your players. I, in the moment, I think, did not do a very good, did not do the best job of
Oh
picking
no.
different things because I think I just did like a condition for basically every time you guys did that.
Ah, well,
So
it
that's
works.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, I think they did a great job laying it out. I think that there's definitely aspects of it that I would take a little more time to kind of familiarize myself with, just
Hmm.
because that's kind of my background with PBTA. But
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, that's understandable. I agree. It's laid out really simply, and it gives you little examples for each one, and it kind of gives you a good idea of degrees of consequences, like failing versus like really failing, or doing really well
yeah,
versus just like barely succeeding. So I've played a couple Powered by the Apocalypse games, and so I understand the concept, but it did a pretty good job with that too. As far as
yeah.
mechanics, I did want to talk particularly about the crown mechanic. We didn't actually get to use that during ours, but I
Yeah.
found it a very interesting concept of
Yeah.
being able to take back a scene basically, and the way that they explain that. So basically, if
Mm.
you do a scene and you feel really bad about it, or you feel uncomfortable with it in some way, or you don't like what happened, you can basically,
Mhm.
so you say like, I'm putting a crown on, and you just take a step back and you redo it. And the way it's explained away in
Mm.
the narrative is like an alternate universe. Like, wouldn't it be weird if that had happened? Or like, oh, if I had failed, then this would have happened, or something like that. Because it is supposed to be kind of
Yeah.
like a TV show, and so they can
Yeah.
kind of play off of those tropes of like seeing like, oh man, like that would have been terrible or something like that. So I
Yeah.
like that
It
idea.
is.
Yeah.
Well, it is interesting. It reminds me of like, those choose your own adventure books
Mm-hmm.
where
Yeah.
you get to a page where it's like you get to the bad ending and you're like, "Oh shit." And then you can just go back
Yeah.
to the previous page and choose something else.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's supposed to be. So I think it's a good concept.
Yeah.
First read, first blush, I was like a little like, oh, well, that sounds lame. Like, you can't just, then there's no consequences. But like, I don't know, it's a game, so it's fine. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be that kind of stuffy person. So
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
I think it's definitely like a good backup thing to have, like in your tool belt.
Yeah, I think it also just mechanically, like, it does this interesting thing where it kind of really lets you set some high stakes without actually punishing the players or like without making it impossible for them to succeed, where they
Hmm.
kind of have access to this little do-over,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
just a rewind button. And it's kind of cool conceptually. I know we didn't use it, but I think it would be very fun to do and to have, yeah, to like really work that into your game. So I'm excited maybe in future to try that.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. I also like I love that they've got all of the Maven moves are all named after these iconic classic like
TV
Pulp
show.
Fiction or
Yeah.
cozy murder mystery like characters and their sort of archetypal moves and things. They're
Hmm.
just truly so good.
Yeah, there's a lot of flavor and like story put into every single bit of it. So
Yeah, I just generally the writing style as well as everything is so tongue in cheek and so genre savvy that it really is kind of a delight to read through. Even these sections that are just about mechanics that like ought to be a little more dry or less interesting, but because they're peppered with these little references and all of the genre tropes, like it just actually is still a delight to read, honestly. It's very fun.
yeah, they keep in theme very well, definitely.
Yeah. And I also love, I don't think that we even really use this move either, but it's the one where you reference something that the character in
Oh
these books that the
yeah,
Mavens
ugh, that
are
they're also supposed to be
reading.
doing in a book club. Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get to
Yeah.
tone. But yeah,
The Gold Crown Mysteries move is so cute. I just literally, I love the idea that they can reference something just like off the cuff. Oh, this reminds me of something that happened to Amanda Delacour. And just
oh, did you see that episode last week?
yes, it's so cute. This is actually my favorite move, and it's tragic that I don't think we used it at
We
all.
didn't
Spoilers,
know.
but it's so cute. I love, man, what an
I think we just
incredible.
meddled the whole time. We just want to meddle constantly.
Yeah,
That's our
yes,
group.
yeah. Meddling. Oh my gosh. No, and like I love the occult move. I love the ability that the occult move has where it
hmm
allows you to write in a custom move into your game.
That's so
Like
good.
that is phenomenal. Like it creates this concept of immediately establishing your own canon,
hmm
and it just feels so fitting to this like cozy murder mystery TV genre style. I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah, yeah, you get to make your own stories and really brings the players like their actions, will influence the rest of the game. Very, very real. You get to experience that
Yeah.
later on.
Yeah. Oh my God. No, I love that. I love all of these little moves and mechanics. I love it. It just feels so it's so streamlined, but it still feels like there's so much character and so much actual like content there for you to latch onto.
hmm
Like it really does that balance very, very well. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I would give their mechanics just 5 out of 5. It's very good. It's all very
Yeah, I think
balanced. I don't see
yeah.
anything wrong. So,
Yeah. Me too. I would also give a 5 out of 5, although I'm gonna deduct point 0.1, so it would be a 4.9.
you're doing
Just
the
because
math on that one.
yeah, I would have to do the math. No, I'm I'll give it a 5, but like in my heart, I have to deduct a point 0.1 because they didn't reference the one stupid murder mystery show that I'm low-key obsessed with, which
oh.
is what is it, Mrs. Columbo or Kate Loves a Mystery, or this isn't me being able to not remember. This is that this show was such a hot mess that it had like 2 or 3 different names. But I love this stupid show. It's
Oh
just
my
Lady
god.
Columbo, and it's God, what's her name? Kate Mulgrew, and I freaking love Kate Mulgrew. Listen,
I have never heard of this.
it's honestly such a mess, but what a great concept. You know your show is in trouble when your backup title is Kate Loves a Mystery. Like that's nothing,
Kate
folks.
loves
Pals, that isn't
That's
anything.
you
And they
see.
know.
Okay, yeah, you referenced that like in the game, and I had no idea
Yeah.
what you're talking about, and I was still like, yeah, that's nothing. Like what?
I'll link it in our
I
chat
didn't
because
call you
it's
out,
really
but
funny. It is absolutely nothing.
oh my god.
But yeah,
Kate
I
loves-
will give it a 5, but in my heart I have to deduct that point
You
1
know
for
what?
not referencing Lady Columbo or whatever the hell.
You gotta think of a Maven move for that show, though. So you
It
gotta
would
call it
just
the
be
Lady
naming.
Columbo. Yeah.
Yeah, it would just be naming something so badly that your whole show falls apart.
Oh, no.
I should go watch more of that show. Anyways, if you
Anyways,
like Kate Mulgrew, that's about the appeal of that show.
okay, well, so
So
five
that's
out of
that then.
five
All right.
mechanics.
Great. 5 out of 5. Done.
Okay.
What are we on, tone? What was your impression of the tone? I feel like I've gone first for almost all of these.
um, I like it. I think it's a really like niche thing, and so it's not going to appeal particularly to everybody. But it knows itself so well that it
Mm,
really works, and so the people that it does appeal to, it's like, you know, going to be one of their favorite things. And even if it's not your favorite thing, like for me, I still really enjoy playing it. I definitely want to know more about like the overall mysteries that are going on. I
mhm.
want to learn more about that kind of thing. It did draw me in a way that I wasn't. I didn't really think that was going to happen. So I think they did a great job. It's just really
Yeah.
so specific, and I can't believe they've done it so well. So
Yeah.
great
No,
job.
absolutely. It is a bit of a niche. I think that it ought to
Hmm.
appeal to anyone with good taste, but that's just
Ooh.
spicy.
Okay, Ryan.
No, but I feel like the tone is so good. And like I touched on the writing, kind of the style of it a little bit earlier, but just the way that it's so tongue in cheek and so genre savvy, like you
Hmm.
can tell the huge amount of investment and love that the writers have for this genre. It's so beautifully done. And I
Hmm.
feel like as well, just like the fact that this is a game that really specifically centers like the stories of elder women is
Hmm.
very cute. Like it's very nice. It's especially in a sphere where the sort of stereotypical idea of what like D&D fans or TTRPG fans are like is like, a guy living in his parents' basement, right? Like
Yeah.
there's this prevailing sort of stereotype that isn't true by any means, right? Just evidenced by our group alone certainly is not true. Um, but I love that this game specifically does center those stories, and
Hmm.
I think it's so cute and so wholesome.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's just like a whole new take. It's something that I never would have thought of, and yeah, the way that they portray it is perfect. So, good job.
Yeah. I loved as well, like, and I was even thinking about this a bit after we played it, but the fact that like your characters are all elder women, attending this book club, living in a community together, and that they've all kind of got children who have already moved on, right? They've got their
Hmm.
own families or their own work and stuff going on. Their spouses, if they had one, are have also passed on. Like I
Hmm.
just think it's got this really beautiful thematic element to it where it's just that, life continues on
Yeah.
for elder people and elder women. Your life goes on and you still have a life outside of those things, right? Outside of
Hmm.
family or spouse. And I just think that thematically it's very beautiful. And like, I don't know. I'm just very a big fan, a big, big fan.
Yeah, I really like how, yeah, it's kind of emphasizing those connections that are maybe different than the ones that you're making in like your 20s and 30s. Is, you know, like your
Mm.
friendships are going to be a little bit different, and relationships with anyone, and just like kind of steering you to get into that mindset and think in that way changes how you might interact with a normal D&D party. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah. I know people think that life ends when you hit 30, but listen, like
God, I hope
life goes on, folks. Like no, I just think it's beautiful. I think it caters and like you say, it's a very niche, very specific thing, but I think it really centers these stories that really don't get to be featured a lot
not.
typically in your standard D&D or TTRPG game, and I think it's beautiful. It's lovely.
I think for tone, I'm gonna go with 4 stars because just because as I said, it's not my particular bag, but I really like how they did it, and I still enjoyed the game, and I think that they know their tone very well. So
Yeah, totally. I would give it a 5 certainly. If I could give it a 6, if they had included Kate Loves a Mystery, it would be a 6,
it would
but
be a 6. Okay.
I'll give them a 5 for tone for sure. And then if we want to touch lastly, just really quick on story,
Mhm.
on the little, the sort of one-shot mysteries at the end, and then the sort of overarching plot elements. I don't know if you looked at I guess you probably didn't because I'm running these games
No.
for you guys, so.
I gave it a quick skim today, but I tried to avoid spoilers because I have a feeling Mary Elise is gonna make us do more. So
Yeah,
they
I would
love
do
their
more
character.
for sure. I guess just to talk specifically about the adventure that we did really quick, and like not to get into spoilers or anything, but we did the great Brindlewood Bay Bake Off.
Oh gosh,
Absolutely
yes.
incredible. This is such a specific call out for me specifically. I'm absolutely targeted and attacked, but I love it. Um there's so much good, like, I literally could talk all day about, like, the tropes and how clearly savvy they are to, like, the Great British Bake Off and the tropes that they're pulling from it, and the characters being, like, named so specifically to, like, reference the actual real life people that they're based off of. So incredibly funny. It was, like, such a delight for me as the keeper, as the GM to read through it. I feel like this one, the one thing sort of negative that I would have to say, and like not, I don't know if it's negative exactly, but I mean, we're running these as a one shot. And so I think
Mhm.
that I struggled a bit with kind of like the timing of it because the Bake Off theme sort of necessitates that like you do the
Give a
Bake
bake
Off,
off.
right? Yeah, you do the Bake Off, which is extremely fun. And I'm so excited for people to watch. But like, I cut out there were meant to be, like, 2 full rounds of the Bake Off, and, like, I cut out
Mhm.
the 2nd round because we were already so far into it, and no one like, the murder hadn't even happened, and I was
There's
like,
no murder,
"God,
no
this."
clues. Yeah.
No murder, no clues, just Bake Off, and I'm totally happy to play a game where we just play the Great British Bake Off. I'm here for
As
that game
old
too.
ladies. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here for that, but I don't know that that's as advertised what we were meant to be doing.
Exactly. Yeah. I think I
Yeah.
have written down here for story is that I love the idea, hard to execute sometimes.
Hard to execute.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I was thinking about it afterwards, and yeah, I think doing 2 rounds of the baking would definitely have been too much. I
Mhm.
think, like, also the other thing that I struggled with, just, like, as the person running the game, there's so many NPCs. I probably cut at least a third of them, maybe even closer to half, just
Ooh.
because otherwise it was so unwieldy and like there was no way for me to organically introduce all of these characters. Like
Especially
there's
we have
just
a lot of
there's no
players
way.
too.
Yeah, we have a
Yeah.
lot of players. Technically speaking, it does say in the Brindlewood Bay rulebook that it doesn't advise running it with more than 4 players.
That's about right. They're
Yeah,
right.
they're right. We should have listened, but
We have to
no,
have
but
our
I yeah.
team.
Yeah. It there I mean, I think the problem mostly being that we were doing it as a one shot. It really would be so good if you had a little more time to develop all these characters and things. But like for me, I was just like, God, there's no way. They all have British accents. There's so many of them. There's no way. I just can't. I can't do that. Like,
Too many
different British
people.
accent for everyone. Absolute hell. Like
Yeah. I definitely feel like that when you're reading through the adventure, it feels like you get the idea of the tone and everything very well. It's just applying that to a group is a little difficult sometimes, and um, getting around to everything maybe. I feel like yeah, this game would be better suited for not a one shot too. I think that
yeah.
getting that whole there's so much under the surface with this, and if you don't have time to explore that, then it just seems like surface, and that can be lacking. So
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, and I do like I really like the stories or the little, mysteries that are laid out at the end of the book.
mm-hmm.
They are very well done and I love like all the little clues and things and they've got so many resources for you as the GM.
Mm-hmm.
Um This one is hard for me to rate because I really do want to give it a 5, but I feel like it is challenging, and especially because of the one that we did, I kind of want to deduct a point for how challenging it was to like do it as a one shot. But like there's so much good stuff in there. I feel bad for deducting a point.
I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I think that it was it did a really good job of like setting the tone for what that should be, like the
Mm.
Bake Off feels and like the chaos and the silly characters and stuff like that. But I do feel like that maybe we should have just chosen a different adventure. But I do feel like it had
Mm.
a hard time. Like I didn't really get the creepy murder mystery vibes from it. So
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like that they could have. I don't know. Maybe we just cut out too much, but yeah, I am gonna give it 4 because of all those
Mm.
things together. So
Yeah. I think as well the maybe the reason that we didn't get so much into like the creepy or the really like the murder mystery
mm-hmm.
kind of like running it as a one shot I feel is a bit different because a
Yeah.
lot of that really the more creepy like eldritch cosmic horror type themes that is really kind of a part of their overarching theme where
Mm-hmm.
if you do more sessions and you start really investigating the broader overarching plot mystery, you start getting more into that kind of thing. So I feel like as sort of like our first mystery and like a first one shot, it's kind of designed to be like pretty light on those elements.
Mm-hmm.
Just because again, like the stakes get more challenging as you get further embroiled in this darker mystery. So I think maybe that might be a little bit why we kind of just scratch the
Yeah,
surface in
that's
terms of
fair.
that. But like also what you're saying that it was like this particular mystery was geared more towards like the
Being
cozy bake off
goofy. Yeah.
energy and less like
Yeah.
the eldritch horror.
Yeah. So maybe if we played a different story, I would give a different rating. But for this one, I would say
Yeah.
4.
Yeah. I'm so torn. I am going to give it
You can just give it a 5. It's okay.
I'm so torn. Like Natalie Imbruglia said.
Did
I'm gonna
she?
give it a 5. I really
Okay.
liked it.
Good.
The characters were really good. And Scott Lamb is my favorite NPC of all time. And I love him. And I do imagine him as Nathan Fode whenever I picture him in my mind's eye. Anyways, this is.
Good.
Everyone just Google Nathan Fode's Instagram, please. Okay, so to add up all of my totals, I gave it a 4 for structure, a 5 for art, 5 for mechanics, 5 for tone, and 5 for story. So I have a total of 23 out of 25.
Okay. And I did 3 for structure, 5 for art, 5 for mechanics, 4 for tone, and 4 for story. So I got 22.
And what if we actually make that into a percentage?
I was gonna say,
Listen,
wait.
don't at me about this. I'm totally not doing this on my phone. Don't listen. I'm gay and I can't do math, so that's.
I told you I wasn't doing math on stream.
I know. That's a solid 90% though, so that's good, right?
I think
Average
so.
rating,
Yeah.
pretty good. For
Yeah.
a genre and concept that you're not particularly into, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it really just it knew itself so well, and it really came through in the end. So I highly recommend the game. I think that everyone should check it out. I think it'll force you to play a different kind of character at the very least, and that is always worth doing. So
Yeah. But yeah, highly recommend everyone go check this one out. It is like if you're into the murder mystery vibes, it's such a good vibe.
yeah, definitely, it does know its setting well, and I think that anyone would have fun playing it. We'll put a link to it in the description so you can get a copy of your own. And we'll be having our actual play coming out soon with the rest of the cast. It's a lot of fun, very chaotic as always.
Oh my
but
God, so chaotic.
we did our best, folks, I promise.
It was very good. It was such a fun time.
Yeah. And check that game out. Thank you.
Check it out. That's the energy we're.
Yeah, that's what we're ending on.
Yeah. I love it. Okay, and cut.